Breaking news, President Trump just now commencing a security roundtable with law enforcement and administration officials at the White House. The president is touting the Homeland Security Task Force he established on the first day of his second term. President Trump calling the task force, quote, a hell of a group protecting Americans against cartels, drug traffickers, and criminals. As we monitor this event, there's visible security, things like weapons and barriers and tanks. And then there's the security that you don't see, data and intelligence, moving and securing that massive volume of information at the very same time that American businesses are ramping up their use of artificial intelligence data. That requires a huge effort to unclog and speed up the nation's data superhighways. My next guests are working together to do exactly that. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive, Palantir co-founder and CEO Alex Karp, and he is here with Kate Johnson, president and CEO of Lumen. Palantir and Lumen just announced an expanded multi-year, multi-million-dollar partnership to deploy Palantir's AI to fast-track and enhance Lumen's digital networking infrastructure. Kate, how'd you get hooked up with this guy?
Yeah, well, through an incredible partnership, actually. We're teaming up to deliver the Holy Grail for businesses. It's all about real-time intelligence, and you need two things to do that. You need to be able to move huge amounts of data from anywhere to anywhere, quickly, securely, effortlessly, and that's what Lumen does. That's our business. And you need, once you have that data, you need to be able to make sense of it. And that's the AI platform that Palantir has.
Alex, this is a reported $200 million deal. Am I right on that?
You know, we don't really comment on the specifics of deals. What I would say is it is a formative deal for us. We are very, very happy to be partnered with you. What basically is happening is you have a business that, if it can be transformed in a year as opposed to 5 years, could be the backbone of essentially every AI use case in the country. You have these somewhat older telco infrastructures that really can't support the burden that AI places on the network. And in her leadership, they have a team that is just extremely aggressive in how do you transform this from A to B. And obviously our products are quite useful. So after you've transformed it, then you have, after you can use the data in real time at scale, given the AI load that's going to come, then the question is, what do you do with the data? And then we're ideally suited for that. But honestly, it's also just a marvelous team, and we really enjoy supporting them.
Okay, so you're not going to give the amount of money, but is it fair to quantify it as one of the bigger deals you've done?
It's a very large deal, and we're very serious about it.
What do you think Palantir can do for you and your millions of miles? Right now, you expect to do 17 million fiber miles by the end of 2025 here in the United States. What can Palantir do? Because they're a data aggregator. Explain to our audience what you expect this partnership will enable you to do to speed up what is now a very clogged system. Billions of queries. Yeah. Is it fair to say per hour? Per hour from AI?
I would say per seconds at this point. But I think there's a couple things. So first of all, Lumen is customer zero for the value of this partnership, right? We use the Palantir platform to make sense of our data. Like so many businesses out there, Liz, there are thousands of applications with data trapped in them, and the Palantir platform helped us set that data free and then make sense of it so we could do two things. Number one, take a bunch of costs out of our business, and number two, accelerate our transformation to bring AI, to the rest of the world. And so what does Palantir do for Lumen? It basically accelerates our transformation and allows us to bring the joint capabilities, moving data, making sense of data, to thousands of customers.
Alex, your data helps companies and governments save a lot of money and cut costs because it makes connections, it analyzes the data, and that's something that takes a lot less time using that. So when you look at the demand that's out there for that to happen, for the enterprise customers whom you serve, how much quicker can you make this data move?
Well, I mean, it is a great example of you have essentially a fixed asset. And if that aspect was transformed into more modern infrastructure, you could do it 200x faster. So that's but then there's 2 points. It's both hundreds of times faster, but then it's actually incrementally cheaper because you could orchestrate when do you use our product, when do you not use it, at what cost point, how much data would you use, and it's both the faster, and cheaper. You could look at this, at least I'm kind of a layperson, but you could look at the business and say, why isn't this much more like a cloud business where you have, you take older infrastructure and then all of a sudden you can actually do near real-time queries and you can control the cost, which honestly many cloud providers can't do very well. So if you could do both in real time, that completely transforms not only the use cases you can do, but the cost of the use case. And in AI, one of the problems on the pure front end is a lot of the use cases are the value doesn't equate to the cost of running them. So one of the big ways you make these things more valuable is you control the cost, and obviously in our ontology, we believe you can create a lot more valuable, quantifiable use cases. And if you can do both, you'll do very, very well in the market.
And securing this data, hugely important. The president right now is talking about Homeland Security. So much of the data and the efforts that they do ties back to you guys. You at Palantir have so many software deals with many arms of the government, including Homeland Security. So securing that data,
well, we
what
both
a challenge.
do. I mean, the reality is the partnership really began because we both have very significant government clients. And again, these clients care about speed, veracity, and security. And that's essentially what they want to buy. And there's a lot of there's a lot of difficulty in doing this and using large language models. When do you use them? How do they touch your infrastructure? Under what conditions? What do they say? These are going to be crucial to making things actually valuable.
How far behind are we, Kate, in building out connections between cities? You've got this inner city network between 50 major centers in America, but I mean, I'm sure you guys will push as much as you can out there. But again, you're talking about billions of queries, and now all of these enterprise companies have agents, AI agentics.
There's a pretty big gap between what's needed to thrive in the AI economy and what we have today, but we're going very, very quickly. And it's a couple of quick things. Number one, the hyperscalers recognized the gap last year, and we did a bunch of business with them to interconnect all of their data centers. We're underway with that business right now, digging trenches to make sure that we are building the AI superhighway. The second piece of it is kind of this bandwidth reckoning that businesses are having, like, oh my gosh, I need so much more than I have. And the pipes today, they aren't secure enough, intelligent enough, quick enough, big enough. And we're fixing all of that with the digital platform.
And Alex, this.
By the way, important to note also, she employs thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of workers to actually do this. Yeah. So it's also, this is one of the fascinating things about the business is it's like supporting kind of high-end use cases that people equate with AI. It's also supporting the American worker.
Absolutely. And this push towards super intelligence is also sucking up a lot of the space through the networking system. How close are we, Alex, to super intelligence? And I ask that because a consortium of heavy hitters, everyone from Steve Wozniak to Sir Richard Branson to Prince, I don't know, one of the princes, Prince Harry, the Nobel Prize-winning AI pioneer Geoffrey Hinton released a statement calling for a moratorium on developing the system. Hold on, let me put this out there. Developing a system that could surpass human cognition.
Okay, well now we're moving to the portion that's just me, and I don't want to be, but there's basically the way they look at it and the way I look at it, which is my view, not anyone else's, which is we're in an arms race here. That's all academic, super academic. It's like we're going to either have AI and determine the rules, or our adversaries will have it and they'll determine the rules. And so this is why these infrastructure things are crazy important, because in order to make it work, what do you need? You need infrastructure that can actually run the models, get the data there in a secure and cheap enough way. You need to make the models actually useful. You need ontology to do that, meaning you have to deploy them where they're useful and where they're not, and orchestrate them. And if you start putting impediments on this, de facto what's going to happen is our adversaries will build it, and we will be buying everything from them, including our ideas of how to run our country. And so, like my personal version, Palantir, what we represent at Palantir, what we do not impose on anyone else is we're running like hell, and we're going to support anybody, especially people on the front line, who can galvanize this infrastructure, and then our clients in the DoD especially, and help make the American warfighter the most lethal in the world.
Jensen Huang of NVIDIA had said, similar to what you just said, that if we don't develop this stuff, then and we don't take the lead in the tech stack of the world, then we are going to lose it to China. So he is for doing business with China. You have never done business with the Chinese government.
We all have our own position on this. First of all, Jensen is a patriot and someone that everyone in the business community, including I, respect. And, you know, we all have differing opinions on this, and we could sit down and probably discuss them. Where I'm sure Jensen Huang and I agree is this is an American dream. This is an American technology. He is a preeminent American with a preeminent, crucial American company. We believe you need ontology and chips to make this work. We supply the ontology. It turns out you also need infrastructure. There are certain components you need to make this work. They happen to be made in America. And we should just focus on making America even stronger and stronger.
But not doing business with China.
Well, we all make their own decisions. Palantir has a long, we started off in the military. We support clandestine service. We're very unique. We at Palantir only work with America and its allies. That's a decision. By the way, it's not everyone's decision. But what's crucial is, you know, we get the American economy to be by far the strongest in the world. And people like Jensen Huang and Palantir and Lumen, we're all marching in that direction.
Kate, what about international business for you?
Well, it's obviously on the map right now. We're focused on, you know, thriving in the U.S. and helping with the competitiveness of the American AI platform. And the rest of the world is next up.
Alex, I bring this up because when we hear from viewers, and you and I have spoken about this, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it since the Israeli hostages were finally returned. You had been one of the most outspoken, pretty much the only outspoken pro-Israel supportive CEO. And you lost some employees from that. You don't care. Good for you, if that's
well,
how you
I care,
feel.
but I care about sticking to my guns a lot more. And yeah, no, look, Palantir, we believe that the support of the West is crucial for the survival of humanity. We believe that the West is superior. I believe that Israel is part of that Western narrative, and we supported Israel all the way through during some of the hardest times. It was obviously super controversial, and I got yelled at every day, at least once a day. I'm still proud that we are in the fight in Ukraine. We supported Israel. We support Homeland Security. All those things are controversial. I obviously, like you, was very, very relieved to see the hostage came home, and like you, mourned for the people who did not come home, which was very hard. You know, the fact that the president, who deserves enormous credit, was able to make this peace happen. I don't really think anyone else would have been able to do it. Is a testament to our country and his leadership, and I'm very, very proud that this helped him with Palantir. It could play some kind of small role in this enormous accomplishment led by the president.
And again, you both do business with the U.S. government, and we're 10 months after the much-discussed DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, where Elon Musk came in and he held the big chainsaw and started saying, I'm slashing and cutting all kinds of things. Net, did either of you lose business from the DOGE cuts?
No, we provide critical infrastructure to the government, and so we're an instrumental part of the Go Forward plan to modernize and simplify all the government agencies.
I mean, look, we're doing very well. I mean, you know, and if we're doing things that are not valuable, then I want to hear about that too. So I was very supportive of those efforts.
Did they tell you there was something? Yeah, you know, we could trim some of the Palantir stuff that we have.
We have so many contracts. We're doing very well. You know, we are fully aligned with the U.S. government, and if there were, you know, I don't actually, no, I don't think so. But the truth is, you know, look, we've become a very large business. Actually, surprisingly to most people outside the U.S. government and in U.S. industry, which is where we're just, you know, crushing it, but also in the U.S. government. And we're very aligned with this is one of the secrets of Palantir. Because we started in the U.S. government with full alignment, when I show up, I'm not saying, pay me and I'll do nothing. I'm like, hey, we'll show you results and then pay us. We are downstream from value creation. And if downstream from value creation means we're doing something that's not valuable, like, then I want to know, because it's not valuable for you, and tomorrow it's not going to be valuable for me.
That's how we started.
Yeah.
Alex came into my office, said, I can save you a couple $100 million, and I said, prove it. And here we are.
Did it happen?
It's happening.
100 million.
Well, we're on our way
to it.
to meeting our commitments to take $1 billion out of our business, and Palantir is an instrumental part of that.
You know, I do want to bring up Ukraine because Ukraine is still 3 years into this battle where Russia invaded Ukraine. The fact that they are still alive and kicking, a lot of people credit Palantir and the software that you helped them use for the fact that they are still actually pushing back Russia. What do you expect happens here? Are you still going to Ukraine? I know you were the first U.S. CEO to go to Ukraine after the war began.
Yes, that's true. And again, it's so funny. I get yelled at in some places because of Israel. I get yelled at in some places because of Ukraine.
We're not yelling at you.
No, I know you're not, but it's fine. It's like to have someone who welcomes. This is a rare. Yeah, you know, I mean, by the way, just to say the obvious, the Ukrainians are tough and proud people, and that's the primary reason they're still fighting. And yeah, it's very hard to know what will happen. I'm happy, you know, as we've seen, the president's fully engaged, and I think, you know, at some point we might actually get a peace deal. I'm really hopeful. The war's going on. It costs a lot of lives. But the truth is, I don't know. But I am proud that we're able to support them, and they're very, very tough people. I think they will, you know, continue fighting until they can reach something that they feel is they can accept.
President Trump has said that he's not going to meet with Putin right now. He really wants the war to stop, the bloodshed to stop, and he's
well, you know
annoyed.
And I really respect that about the president, that he's actually a peace president, and you know, it's far less important. But you know, we're not at Palantir. The idea, and just what I very much support is, you know, you want to be so strong that there are no wars. Wars really are bad.
Horrible.
Yeah.
There's an article out before we go that says, how and when did Alex Karp go full MAGA? Are you full MAGA?
Look, you know, I have this biography coming out. It's like mostly true. It's not all true. It's written by a very prominent writer. And it's really a tale of two stories. It's me as a child, which, you know, I started from nothing, which many people in business did. That's not only. And then he is kind of, you know, got a little bit of Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm very supportive of the president's, you know, border and national security thing is really the only two things that I actually focus on. And I guess in that sense, you know, from his perspective, if you're supportive of, you know, but I support the president a lot, and he thinks I've gone nuts, and I think these people that can't learn, like, at what point can you acknowledge the accomplishments? Like, these are really, like, getting the peace deal, closing the border, degrading Iran are world historic accomplishments, and I don't see why you wouldn't acknowledge that. But of course, you know, to many people, if you acknowledge the obvious and extraordinary accomplishments, they think you're deranged.
If he wanted to take a stake in either of your companies, would you say yes? He is doing that. The administration is taking stakes in companies they feel are systemically very important.
I don't think it's necessary. I think both companies are quite viable on their own, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Alex?
I'm in a support function. I support the U.S. government. I support our fearless leaders. And I'm going to stay in my support function.
Well, thank you for supporting the Claman Countdown, for coming here once again.
I support you too.
Good to see you.
Very nice to see you.
Likewise.
Alex and Kate, thank you very much.